Welcome back to our deep dive into automotive history. Today, we are looking at the car that changed everything, the 1934 Citroën Traction Avant. At a time when cars were heavy, lumbering frames with engines driving the rear wheels, Citroën introduced a low-slung, lightweight masterpiece. The name Traction Avant literally translates to front drive, signaling its primary innovation. This wasn't just a new model, it was a gamble that pushed the boundaries of mass production. It introduced three major concepts simultaneously: front-wheel drive, a monocoque body, and independent front suspension. Let's explore how this French icon set the blueprint for the modern car we drive today, over 90 years later. Before 1934, cars were built like horse-drawn carriages, a heavy steel frame with a body bolted on top. André Citroën changed the game by adopting the monocoque or unibody construction. By integrating the chassis and body into a single welded unit, Citroën reduced the car's weight by hundreds of pounds and significantly lowered its center of gravity. This made the Traction Avant much safer in collisions and remarkably agile. However, this innovation was so expensive to develop that it nearly bankrupted the company, leading to its takeover by Michelin. Despite the financial turmoil, the engineering was undeniable, creating a rigid structure that eliminated the rattle common in contemporary vehicles. The defining feature of this car is right in the name. By placing the engine and transmission at the front and driving the front wheels, Citroën eliminated the bulky propeller shaft that usually ran down the center of the car. This allowed for a flat floor and a much lower cabin, which meant passengers didn't have to climb into the car, they stepped into it. The FWD layout, designed by André Lefebvre, provided superior traction, especially on slippery roads, as the weight of the engine sat directly over the driving wheels. This layout eventually became the standard for nearly all modern economy and mid-range vehicles globally. The Traction Avant wasn't just about the frame. It featured a range of advanced overhead valve engines. It launched as the 7CV with a 1.3-liter engine, but evolved quickly into the more popular 11CV, featuring a 1.9-liter four-cylinder. For those seeking power, the 15.6 was introduced in 1938, featuring a 2.9-liter straight-six engine that earned it the nickname Queen of the Road. These engines featured wet cylinder liners, which were revolutionary for the time, allowing for easier cooling and simplified engine rebuilds. With a top speed of around 110 kilometers per hour for the 11CV, it was one of the fastest mass-produced family cars of the 1930s. Citroën didn't stop at the drivetrain. The Traction Avant featured independent front suspension using torsion bars, which was a massive leap forward from the solid axles used by competitors like Ford or Austin. This gave the car legendary road-holding capabilities. Furthermore, it was one of the first mass-produced cars to feature hydraulic brakes across all four wheels. This combination of agile suspension and powerful braking made it a favorite among those who needed to move fast, including both the police and the criminal underworld. The ride quality was so smooth that it laid the groundwork for Citroën's future development of hydropneumatic suspension.
The aesthetic of the Traction Avant is unmistakable. Sculpted by the legendary Flaminio Bertoni, the car locked the running boards that were standard on almost every other car of the era. This contributed to its slinky, low-to-the-ground appearance. The aerodynamic shape was not just for looks, it reduced wind noise and improved fuel efficiency. Inside, the cabin was surprisingly spacious thanks to the flat floor we mentioned earlier. The dashboard was minimalist, and the gear lever sprouted directly from the dash, a design choice that maximized legroom. It was a masterpiece of Art Deco industrial design that remains beautiful to this day.
The Traction Avant holds a unique place in cultural history. In the 1930s and 40s, it was known as the gangster Citroën because its superior handling made it the ultimate getaway car. The police simply couldn't keep up in their traditional rear-wheel drive vehicles. During World War II, it became an icon of the French resistance. Members of the FFI, French Forces of the Interior, would often paint FFI on the doors of captured Traction Avants. Its reliability in harsh conditions and ability to navigate tight European streets made it an indispensable tool for freedom fighters. This duality of being both a criminal's tool and a hero's transport cemented its legendary status. Very few cars enjoy a production run of 23 years, especially during such a volatile period in history. From its debut in 1934 to the final car rolling off the line in July 1957, over 760,000 units were produced. While the technology remained largely the same, Citroën introduced variations like the Commerciale with a hatchback-style tailgate, decades before hatchbacks became popular, and the Familiale, which featured 3 rows of seats. Even when the futuristic Citroën DS was launched in 1955, the Traction Avant continued to be produced for 2 more years because the public simply couldn't let go of this reliable and stylish workhorse. For the modern collector, the Traction Avant is a remarkably usable classic. Unlike many cars from the 30s, its FWD layout and hydraulic brakes make it feel surprisingly modern in today's traffic. Parts availability is excellent because so many were made and they share many components across models. However, prospective buyers should look out for the dreaded rust in the monocoque shell, as structural repairs can be complex and expensive due to the unibody design. Maintenance is relatively straightforward. The engines are robust, and the wet liners make top-end overhauls simpler than on most vintage blocks. It remains one of the best entry-level ways to own a truly significant piece of automotive history. In conclusion, the 1934 Citroën Traction Avant wasn't just a car, it was a vision of the future. By proving that front-wheel drive and monocoque construction were viable for mass production, Citroën set a standard that took other manufacturers decades to follow. Every time you drive a modern car with a unibody frame or a transverse front drive layout, you are experiencing the legacy of André Citroën's 1934 masterpiece. It remains a symbol of French engineering brilliance, daring innovation, and timeless style. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments, would you choose a Traction Avant over a modern luxury sedan?